Summer of 1995 is when Warner Brothers Animated Studios announced their first feature animated film.
Tell me the show's name.
The movie was called The Quest for the Grail. Bill Croyer and Frederick Duchow would be announced as the directors, with Sue Croyer as the co-producer. Not long after this was announced, the Croyers would actually get fired from Warner Brothers due to creative differences. We all know how that can be.
It's Warner Brothers.
This would later become Quest for Camelot, and Frederick Duchow would lose his directing partner and his co-producer. The Croyers would move on, and this is where our story begins. We're back in the 90s, surprise, surprise, and Warner Brothers has just released their first animated film, and it was a smashing success in 1996, Space Jam. With Warner Brothers, animated content wasn't anything new, but animated films was something they were deciding to tap into. Michael Jordan had appeared on screen with Bugs Bunny and a few times before their first debut movie together.
What'd you expect? Elmer Fudd?
Even though Space Jam is what people remember them together the most. The film was released in November of 1996, alongside Disney's live-action remake of 101 Dalmatians with Glenn Close. Now, this was set up for both films to be viewed for the Thanksgiving weekend. Surprisingly, it doesn't seem that one really affected the other. I've slightly touched on this before, but oftentimes when films are released close together from two rival studios,
Yeah, ain't I a stinker?
one will typically far outperform the other, and completely overshadows the small studio's film. Yes, I am talking about Disney again, but that doesn't mean I'd resent them. It's just kind of a fact. In 1991, Disney's Beauty and the Beast was released in late November, and Sony's film Hook was released in the beginning of December. Now, neither film did poorly in the scenario, but Beauty and the Beast was released first, and it still made over $100 million more than Hook. You can argue that it's just that, well, Beauty and the Beast is better than Hook, and many would agree. Even still, there is no denying that if Beauty and the Beast wasn't in theaters during Hook's release, Hook would have done even better. Space Jam and 101 both performed great. Even though Space Jam still underperformed compared to its competition, regardless of the circumstances, Warner Brothers was absolutely in the animation game, and were ready to take on its competition.
You guys are nuts.
Which were Disney and DreamWorks. Unfortunately, they jumped the gun a bit, and they bit off a little more than they could chew. So, next year, Warner Brothers decided to release another animated film.
Hollywood, where the streets are paved with gold.
And well, it did bad. Really bad, and we'll have to talk about that one another time. If you try and fail, the only real failure is to stop trying. So Warner Brothers went at it again in 1998. Quest for Camelot had a rough start, with Frederick Duchow losing a directing partner and co-producer, and the film's initial producer, Frank Gladstone, left during the process of making the film in 1997. Then, one of the first casted characters for King Arthur was then replaced with Pierce Brosnan, a year before the show's release. Now, sure, all movies run into these sorts of problems during the production, but this doesn't always make it any easier to produce a successful film. Quest for Camelot's debut was May 15th of 1998 in the US. It made $6 million in its first week, ranking third behind Godzilla, which, well, wasn't a good sign. In the US, the film grossed $22.5 million, and worldwide, it was $38.1 million, which means the film didn't even break even with the budget, which was $40 million. So, what happened? Where did Warner Brothers go wrong, and where did they go right with Space Jam? Well, put on your armor, wield your biggest sword and shield, and let's dive in. Let's get into the voice cast. First, we have Jocelyn Gilsig, who played our main character and the film's main protagonist, Kaylee. Kaylee wants so bad to be a knight and goes to find Excalibur to save Camelot. Jocelyn Gilsig wasn't necessarily a new actor by any means at this time. She had done some voice acting in some shows like The Little Flying Bears and Young Robin Hood from 91 to 92, so she definitely had the experience. Unfortunately, not enough for anyone to really recognize her name and draw an audience to come seek her performance. So I think having a somewhat fresh actor play their main role was a little bit of a missed opportunity. Let's talk about some of the impressive supporting roles. Cary Elwes plays Garrett, who is a blind nomad living alone in the forest and sets out to help Kaylee find Excalibur. Cary Elwes plays Wesley in The Princess Bride.
I can't afford to make exceptions.
In 1987, 10 years before Quest for Camelot. He had many experience, and even in similar films, so he fit right into his role. This was definitely a better casting call for their main supporting role. And then we have Gary Oldman, who started acting in 1979 and has been doing movies since. Gary has a very impressive track record for movies and shows that he's been in. Bram Stoker's Dracula in 92, he was Sirius Black in the Harry Potter franchise, and he was also in Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, and of course, Quest for Camelot. Gary Oldman plays Ruber, the story's antagonist, who's a former knight trying to take Excalibur so he can become king. The voices definitely match each character well. There is no doubt in my mind that at all.
Wasn't a pigeon. It was a falcon with silver wings.
Silver wings. Oh, scary. Yes.
The cast had two strong leads for sure. But why cast the main character someone with such a small name at the time? Now, this was a musical, and the songs, despite what critics say about them, I thought were delightful and well done. This is by far one of the most redeemable factors of the film. But there were some very big names involved in the music. Carol Bayer-Sager and David Foster were the composers for several of the film's songs. They had worked with musicians like Michael Jackson, Neil Diamond, Celine Dion, and other really impressive names. One of the songs, The Prayer, even won a Golden Globe.
I pray you'll be alright.
The film even had some incredible musicians sing for the characters in the movie.
I pray you'll be alright.
Celine Dion sang for the character of Juliana, who was Kaylee's mother.
I pray you'll be alright.
And Steve Perry of Journey sang for King Arthur's voice.
All by myself.
So how could the soundtrack not slap? Warner Brothers actually did some decent marketing for the movie, which was obviously necessary. Unlike next year when they released The Iron Giant. If you haven't checked out our video on The Iron Giant, there will be a link in the description. Like most animated films at this time, they teamed up with a fast food chain to help get the name and hype out into the world before the release. Wendy's was who got the promotional license as well as Kenner products. Toys were available in the children's meal, and Scholastics even got the license to make children's books.
Their journey to the castle viewer, but beware of the griffin. Now, when in every Wendy's Kids meal purchase, you can collect all 5.
The Game Boy Color had a video game developed by Titus Interactive and Nintendo, and they called it Quest for Camelot, and it came out in 1998, same year as the film. Lastly, I want to talk about the animation done for Quest for Camelot. Quest for Camelot was all animated in Warner Brothers Feature Animation Studio in Glendale, California, and London, England. Animators in London would all animate about 20 minutes each, and then they would send it back to Glendale to be inked and painted. Yowza Animation in Toronto, Ontario also helped animate and clean it up for Warner Brothers. The animation was, well, not up to standards on the current time. James Berardinelli of Real Views stated the film was dull, uninspired, and worst of all, characterized by artwork that could charitably be called unimpressive.
How about holding your breath?
And Stephen Holden of the New York Times said, Quest for Camelot suggests that Disney still owns the artistic franchise on animated features. And I hate to say it, y'all, but I kind of agree.
Always negative, always pessimistic.
It was lacking in quite a few places. Very minimalistic and just lazy mistakes. Take this for example. Did you see the horse? How hard would it have been to just have the horse be chewing or blinking? Disney has also made this mistake, but more so on their straight-to-VHS releases.
Merry Christmas, everyone!
See how the people in the back are flat and motionless? This is from Beauty and the Beast Enchanted Christmas in 1997. Small things like this can be disastrous for a film. Not to mention that the lack of detail put into the background, and with the characters. I'm going to bring Disney back into this. So, Mulan came out a month after Quest for Camelot. Look at the detail put into their main characters, their clothes and their appearance. But Warner Brothers was just so simplistic with it, and they cut corners. Look at the warriors for both. See how in Quest for Camelot, they are all the exact same besides some facial hair? And that's really it. Disney changed color as well as facial hair. Just small attention to detail. Even on backgrounds, Disney would have moving clouds, running or moving water. Warner Brothers didn't do that at all. They made a big mistake with their animation, and one of their first fully animated films. So, what happened with Quest for Camelot? Well, first, they had a rough start with some creative differences that ended in 2 original counterparts leaving the studio. And this meant that Frederick Duchow was left to his own devices. And let's be honest, he hasn't made anything impressive since 1998. Disney's Mulan was set to release a month after Quest for Camelot, certainly overshadowing it some in advertisement. They had a good formula, they had some good ideas, they had great composers, they marketed well, and then it seems they really just got fried for their poor animation. Being behind the curve while making lazy mistakes, it really bit them in the butt. Critics tore them to shreds. Where I agree the animation should have been better, I also think that critics could have cut them a break. It was their second fully animated film. And really, for their only second fully animated film, they didn't do too bad. This is a childhood staple for so many people. And it forever replays on the screen in trash TV. What an adventure this was. I can't thank each and every one of you enough for coming on this quest with me. You stuck along for the whole ride, and it means so much. If you are new to the channel, check out some of our other videos. We are also on Twitter and Instagram, and we post very often. Please follow us. Links are in the description. All you trash heads take care, and I look forward to our next encounter here on Trash TV.